Hello and welcome to Transform Today, a place where we can have a hopefully a open and honest conversation. And I've been producing these videos for the last month and a half or so, and always wanted to start with maybe sharing a little bit about myself, a little bit about what makes me tick, and I would like you to also share. So far, I haven't had any takers. But that's all right. I'm patient and have lots of patience for that. I post this usually on Mondays on our YouTube channel and Facebook channel, Redwater Alliance Church, Redwater Alliance Church, and just wanted maybe share some of your interests too, and also talk. I'll usually talk about something that's really strikes me as really important, at least what's going on around us in our culture or maybe in our lives today. And one of the things that I've started doing is to try and teach myself guitar. Now, this guitar here is really not a fancy guitar at all. This guitar was my son's. I'm not even sure if I bought him that. It's been so many years ago. He doesn't use it anymore, so I picked it up, this electric guitar. And I also have an acoustic guitar that I have at home that I practice on. And I'll be honest with you, the last few weeks I haven't been very diligent. To learn guitar as you get older is probably a little harder than if I would have picked this up when I was a young man or even younger than that. But I'm interested in it and I'm enjoying it. And I've got a long ways to go, and I certainly wasn't trying to major with all my guitar tricks there, because there wasn't really much to that. Matter of fact, I probably screwed it up as it was. Anyways, this is something that I've been doing, and I hope to continue to pursue this. Some of my other hobbies that during this COVID-19 thing, I can't do anymore, like play hockey or fly an airplane, because our flying club won't let us take airplanes out at this time. So there's other things that interest me in life that I can't do now. Ride my motorcycle, went for a great ride today with a pastor friend of mine and a fellow that I meet with every couple of weeks, sort of an accountability friendship thing going on there. I've known him for many years. And so that was a great day today. I'm a little windburned, a little tired from that trip. We did quite a nice little trip down south to Camrose and around the back roads and back home. But anyways, picked up this thing, trying to practice it. Trying to learn, and eventually I would love to be able to play along with, I don't know, with whoever. And anyways, it's something I'm interested in. I just wanted to show you that. Let's put this away for now, and I want to talk to you today about a couple things that I bet you've been noticing too on the news. With all these riots and protests, and I don't really want to focus on that, but about the riots and protests. I mean, obviously many injustices have been done in the world in the past and present, and there will be many more in the future. What I want to talk today about is morality, or morals, or someone who is moral. So, pardon me, the Collins Dictionary has a number of senses that this word is used, moral or morality. We'll start with morality. One sense comes across as integrity, decency, goodness, honesty, justice, and righteousness. Those are the things that make up morality. And the second thing is a sort of a standards, conduct, ethics, manners, morals, principles, these kind of things. And moral, it's defined in Collins' dictionary in this one way: concerned with right and wrong conduct. And there's a couple other senses that it comes across too and can be used. One of the things I found in my experience in my life is that I have done this in the past, and I imagine other people have done this in the past. But you point a finger at someone and say, "Look at that, shame, shame, shame," and all that kind of stuff. And you might be right. You might have the moral high ground sometimes. And we do have to call out injustices. We do have to call out things that are not right. But I just find it so intriguing and so much like human nature, that whenever we think we have the moral high ground, if every person would just dig a little deeper into their own lives and look at their own past, and they might find that sometimes in their life, no doubt, they weren't so good, or so decent, or so just, or so honest. Maybe their conduct hasn't been up to snuff, if you want to use that term. Now, again, we have different worldviews. I've talked about this before in these short videos. I have a Christian worldview. And just to say that in our culture today, and if those of you who are listening to this, that are not Christians, you might even get your dander all up. And I totally understand that, and that's your choice. One of the things that concerns me with this idea of having a moral high ground is really, who has the standard? Where's the standard to come for this? Who keeps the standard of morality? Is it your opinion of what it is, or is it my opinion of what it is? Is it some doctor of philosophy's opinion? Is it some theologian over there? Is it some culture from the past? Is it today's culture? Whose opinion? You know, we live in this really wonky time now, if I can just use that word there, really weird time maybe is a better way to describe it, where people say my way is okay and your way is okay, and as long as you don't infringe on my rights and I don't infringe on your rights, but you got to follow that logic to its conclusion. Think about it. If that's how you live your life, and if that's how should live my life, and that's the way you want me to live my life, whatever's good for me is good for me, whatever's good for you, then if it's okay for me to steal money, then I should be able to come over to you and I should be able to take your money from you, whether you give it to me willingly or not, because it's good for me. Now you're probably going, now you're taking it. No, the logic goes there. The logic goes there. If you're the moral standard for the world, if you, whoever you are listening to this, if you're the absolute moral standard, because right now everybody doesn't believe in absolutes. They don't want absolutes. And what happens when you don't have an absolute standard to go by? It's anybody's choice. And as you can see today when you look at the riots, they've morphed into something more than justice for the black person, which they should have. They should be treated the same as anybody else. But the thing is now white people are being treated like black people. I don't know if that's justice, but that makes no sense, because now the moral high ground is flipped to another race. And it just makes no sense. And I'm probably really getting people all upset here, so I want to stick to what I was talking about, the moral high ground. Okay? The moral high ground. What's the standard for the moral high ground? Well, from the Christian worldview, a biblical worldview. A biblical worldview is where I draw my moral high ground. And I don't use this to judge anybody per se. It judges people itself. The Bible is the judge of all people, because the Bible is God's word. Now that's the standard by which I think we should all live our lives by. Not the color of our skin, not our occupation, not our background, not our education, not how much money we have, how poor we are, but by God's standard. And so there's this really, really great event that happened in the day of Jesus when Jesus was beginning his ministry, his 3 years of ministry, had this, I think the most famous sermon that's ever been preached and will ever be preached this side of heaven. The Sermon on the Mount. And it's talking about judging others. But there's something really more important here. So he was on the Mount, Sermon on the Mount. He was up on a high ground, and he had his disciples around, and crowds came. He was becoming very popular very soon. And he said this, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now, this is the important part about the moral high ground. Here's where I see this. This is where he speaks about that. Verse 3 of chapter 7 of Matthew's Gospel. Why do you look at the speck or sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? Now, I think Jesus had a great sense of humor. Just think about it. Here we are trying to take this, whatever it is, out of a group of people or a person's eye for what they've done, and yet right in our very own lives. It's not about our eyes, but this very own actions that we have done ourselves are just as are just as bad, if you want to put it that way. And so he says, how can you say to your brother, let's take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And it's not about planks in the eye. Jesus' sense of humor there is something else, I think. You just imagine this big, huge stick sticking out of your eye while you're trying to point your finger or trying to tell someone else how they should act and what they should do to make amends. Because I tell you right now, I'm pretty sure that every one of us has done something that we're not very proud of and don't even want to talk about it anymore. And, this is the thing that we have to remember today. Okay, it's not about race. It's not about more money or less money. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about who has the standard for the way we should live our lives, and that's God. Okay? That's God. And I'm not going to sit here and say any more about that, because I'm not here to preach necessarily. I'm just here to say to you, before you decide, or I decide, what's right or wrong, maybe we should examine our own lives and have a good look at our own perspectives, our own thoughts, what we believe. When you go on social media today, it's absolutely ridiculous what people are saying to each other. And even within specific groups that are protesting against another specific group, if someone in that group all of a sudden decides, well, you know what, maybe we should think about what they're saying or what they did, they get all chewed up and spit out and judged and executed all through social media. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But if that's the way you want to live your life, I guess that's the choice that you have. I would just recommend that you take up a guitar and read the Bible. And maybe, and just maybe, we would be able to understand who we are, truly we are, and who God is, and how we can possibly have a conversation about all those things that are unjust in the world. Anyways, enough of that. So, there you go. I hope you have a fantastic day and the rest of your week. I hope that you go out there and you help someone. Help someone in your neighborhood. Help someone in your town. Help someone in your area, your world. Go for a motorcycle ride if you have a motorcycle. Get some fresh air and spend less time on social media. I would just recommend that, and spend more time praying and more time talking to God, more time reading His Word and learning something new maybe, and your life will be more at peace than you could ever imagine. So have a great day, and that's up to you. You take that advice, it's up to you. I thank you for being here. I'm very glad that you are. Leave your comments, and we'll talk to you another time. Shalom.